Fylgja. Fylgja means fetch, or follower. It's associated with the afterbirth, and is said to be with you from birth. It's your spirit animal. It's both part of you, a guide, and protector. It's associated with your personality, and likely very obvious once you realize it. Every person on this planet has that primal side to themselves. You share certain qualities with them, and your Fylgja is also said to be your opposing gender. If it's not apparent, mine is the wolf. I was raised with a female wolf for the first 7 years of my life. I've always felt this connection, and the wolf has always been present in my life. As I said, everyone has a Fylgja, a spirit animal that is part of who you are. And many cultures share similar ideas. There's a misunderstanding that only indigenous peoples have this, and there's some validity, as your Aunt Karen, with her fried bleach blonde hair, surrounds herself with dolphins and dream catchers, and thinks she's a Christian witch, is actually stealing a culture without ever learning anything about it. That really is cultural appropriation, and profiting from that theft is in fact exploitation. But to think that human beings can or cannot have a spiritual connection to something based on genetic or ethnic validity is grounded in colonial otherizing. Your Fylgja is a part of yourself, and similar to the Hemingya, is passed down the family line. On my son's name day, the neighborhood dogs howled as we put the drop on his forehead. This may also not be something passed by blood. It's hard to say, but my grandfather, who was not genetically related to me, was the one who started raising wolves in our family. It's plausible his Fylgja followed me. Your Fylgja will reflect your personality, your animal side. It's likely that the Berserker and Ulfhethnar were bears and wolves, and that earlier practices like the Koryos were deeply connected to their spiritual animal sides, leading to more evidence that one is born Ulfhethin, not conscripted or drugged, as I've stated in previous videos. Fylgja Meditation. The sources don't mention much. We do know the Arch Heathens had meditation, as the Ute Sitte Sitting Out practice shows. My background in meditation is rooted in martial arts and Buddhism, which is much more fleshed out. I also have a background in kinesiology, so this will be brief but extensive. This is a meditation I do to commune with gods, spirits, etc., but can be used to find your Fylgja. First, the basics. The purpose of meditation is to clear your mind. Once you're comfortable with that, you can work on guided meditation. Sitting. Sit in a relaxed position. A chair is fine. Cross-legged on the floor, sitting on a pillow, works best for me. Position. You should have neutral spine, as seen here. This may be uncomfortable, but barring disability, it'll get easier over time. You can stretch the back slowly by hinging at the hips and slowly rising up. Static stretching is also good for relaxation. Once seated, fold your hands, right fingers on top of left, thumbs touching. You'll hold your hands just below the navel. This is where the Hara is. I'm unaware of a heathen equivalent. If your thumbs peak, you're focusing too hard. If they dip, you're not focusing enough. Breathing. Breath is your focus. Breathe in with the stomach, then the chest. You want to engage the diaphragm muscle before the scalene. Most breathe with their chest, your scalene's secondary function. Breathe in, stomach, chest, then relax the air out, only pushing at the end. Your eyes should also be relaxed, but not closed. Let thoughts float by like clouds. They're there, but try not to engage with them. It may take months to become comfortable with it. Take your time. Rushing leads to mistakes. Once you have that down, you can quiet your mind to ask a question. First, I picture the deity and or spirit I'm asking. Then the question. In this case, what is my Fylgja? Quiet the mind. It's important not to force anything. Just let the words or images appear to you through no effort of your own. Don't expect the answer right away either. I've gotten answers long after. The important thing is to listen and don't force anything. Once you know your Fylgja, feed it, tend to it. Let it be part of you, because it is. This animal spirit represents something deep within you, something primal. Civilization makes us bury this, makes us repress our uncivilized selves. Purity culture and world-rejecting philosophies often force us to separate from our Fylgja. But, like all oppression, if we shove the beast into the shadow, it festers and becomes feral. We must seek harmony with them, harmony with ourselves.
You thirst for civilization, boy. Civilization is unnatural, a whim of circumstance. We are barbarians, and barbarism must always triumph. Live deep while you live. Know the rich juice of red meat and the stinging of wine on your palate. The hot embrace of many women's arms. We will live. We will burn with life. We will slay. Your quest for civilization is a quest for illusion. Reject it.
This Gjallarhorn is closer to the chest for me. Wolves are obviously very important for me. Wolf conservation. Partly due to Christian vilification, and partly because of changes in livestock practices, wolves all over the world have been targeted, if not driven to extinction. The Irish wolf and Japanese Edo wolf are extinct on their respective islands. The Scandinavian wolves would have joined them if it wasn't for Russian wolves migrating into their gene pool. There was once a time when honoring the Vaettir and regarding the wolf as a protector of crops was the norm. Once a system of mass production and usury that was preceded by a religious philosophy that not only rejected this world as fallen and therefore flawed, but they also equated the wolf with Satan, like all things good and pagan. This despite being stewards of the earth. Instead, they favor dominion. Fortunately, conservation and stewardship are important to those of us who don't vilify the untamed and primal. We value nature and realize wolves, like all apex predators, are a key part of the ecosystem. Once wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone, the herbivores didn't graze certain areas, and plant life flourished. Their roots made rivers able to hold more water. The environment thrives when wolves are around, and there are very sustainable ways to prevent them from attacking livestock, something they only do out of necessity. When I do a video on Fenrir, I'll elaborate, but our relationship to wolves has obviously changed quite a bit, especially as we abandon our pagan roots in favor of a religion that rejects the divinity of nature. I've put a couple articles in the description below. Information on the wolf conservation movement. We must help the wolves. We must stop the killing of lives that some vilify and label satanic. Ironically, they worship Mammon, while saying that saving the wolf is evil, as if we're not the invasive species. To help the Vaettir, to honor your Fylgja, your primal side, and to save the wolves, we must educate ourselves and others. We must help conservationists and biologists protect the wolf.